I got a new job. What should I do with my old 401k at my previous company?
Okay, so generally speaking, in my opinion, a 401k, just from our analysis and how many times we've looked at them and what have you, uh, is inferior to an IRA. And you can roll that 401k into an IRA. There are some exceptions, which I'll talk about here in a moment. But the reason that I like IRAs versus a 401k is predominantly because I have generally less cost. There's quite a bit of cost. We have to do a lot of research on all the 401ks if we're recommending to roll them over. There's a lot of administrative costs and different things along those lines, that you can kind of get rid of. But the main thing is you generally have, limited selection as far as what you can pick. And, you might have 40 or 50 different options as far as that goes. Versus an IRA, I can do anything, any stock, any bond, any ETF, any mutual fund. I mean, there's probably over 10,000 different selections to build a portfolio. And I think more selections, at least in my opinion, adds up to a better rate of return and a better portfolio as far as that goes. There are some options within the 401k now where they can do this, what's called self-directed brokerage, where you kind of have the same options as an IRA, basically anything as far as that goes. So you can make an argument for that. But again, you got to look at the expenses in total and make sure that that makes some sense. But there is one caveat to that. If you retire at, before 59 and a half, you cannot get money out of your IRA accounts without tax penalties. And there's one way to do it. It's called the Rule of 72T. And we've used that before. I won't get too much into that, but it's a little bit complicated. But they do have one little carve out. If you leave your 401k there at age 55, you can start taking money out of your 401k, right, without any penalty. And so maybe that would be a reason to leave it there so you can get that money out. However, um, if you look at what's called the sequence of withdrawals, you do not, if possible, want to be taking money first in your retirement from your retirement plans. Ideally, you've built up some taxable assets outside of your retirement plan, some regular assets, brokerage assets, individual, accounts. There's lots of different names for it, but just non-retirement plans. You want to live off of those. So if I retired at 55 and I had enough assets and I did my planning properly, and this is a big thing we talk about all the time, is trying to build up these, outside of retirement plan assets as a balance to all the different pieces. Then I can live off of that. I don't have to worry about taking money out of my 401k at 55 because I really don't want to do that anyway, because the sequence of withdrawals is a big deal. So, yeah, it's an interesting question. There's lots of pieces that go into that as to what you should do, as far as that goes. And I think it's definitely a question worth thinking about.
Yeah, and 401ks, especially if I wouldn't recommend rolling over into another 401k because of how a lot of friends that have done it, and it's a lot more troublesome than rolling over into an IRA if you want to consolidate your accounts so you have less accounts.
Yeah.
Um, if you're trying to the only reason I would keep your 401k is if you're thinking about backdoor, doing a backdoor Roth conversion,
Mhm.
doing that step transaction, you don't want to have any kind of money in an IRA.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to have some issues when you're doing that backdoor.
Yeah. I guess you could make an argument for rolling one 401k into another and keeping that going as you switch jobs, if you're going to be using that 55 rule, right? Just to make it simple, got one 401k left, and I'm going to retire at 55, and I don't have other assets to live off of. So you can make some arguments for that. I'd probably spend way more time, trying to build up assets outside of the retirement plans first, because there's a lot of other really big benefits to that, that keep coming up actually. So yeah, it's a good question.